studio, we have Taylor, Mo, and Brent, otherwise known as China Bones. Gentlemen, welcome. A pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you for having us. Thanks, man.
Awesome. So, put everybody on the spot. Who wants to talk first then?
Mo. I think Mo is definitely our central member when it comes to location.
Okay.
So, being in the middle of us all.
For everybody watching, we're just having a very fun ham and egger moment and lots of joking going on earlier here. So, we're having a lot of fun in the studio with China Bones. Question for you guys then, and just however it lands, who gets the feeling and wants to share with us. How do you describe your music to people?
I can handle this, and I would like you guys to maybe extend on this. The first word that I use is flail.
Flail.
Flail, yes.
F-L-A-I-L?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not a particularly popular musical genre. It comes out of a bunch of traveler kids who grew up on punk, grew up on metal, grew up on ska, high energy music. They go off traveling, you can't put a Marshall stack and a drum set in your backpack, so they end up with mandolins and banjos. And so they get the traditional and the acoustic music, and it's mixed with the high energy alternative stuff that they grew up on. But I always have to do that explanation when I say flail, because it's not really a popularly used word.
Interesting. So I see Brent processing that, and I can tell he wants to add something.
Or subtract.
No, I think, yeah. It's very hard to like really focus in on what it is, and I don't know, I think that's a good way.
Well, one thing that I do like to bring up is what we all sort of grew up listening to. So, I don't know if you want to...
Yeah, you know what? Actually, we'll get that, because I'm going to ask you that question. But what I was more looking to understand is, on your Facebook page, for example, it says folk punk, or was it punk folk? And then we had the discussion pre-shot here in the studio, and one of the guests in the studio audience was saying, no, that's not your music at all. So I just thought it was very interesting. Is there a genre called flail? Or have you guys, you're creating something new? Are you going to be known as the creators of flail? Are you folk punk?
I did not come up with this term. I believe the first band to use it was Profane Sass, and then it's been used for bands like the Railyard Ghosts. Again, they're all traveler kids.
Traveler kids.
Doing the acoustic music.
So traveler kids, that's the hanging out at roadside, hitchhiking, going the trip to Alaska, campfires in the bush. I think I saw some photos on Facebook of a whole bunch of people with graffiti under a bridge and a pot of stew playing guitars.
That did happen.
Yes, we were.
That was the thing. That was under Sherbourne Bridge.
Okay.
Over the summer.
So that's preferred instead of a venue, an indoor venue.
It's nice to have a combination. I mean, if it was always out under a bridge, I think that would get stagnant. But having said that, I really appreciate just being unplugged and out with a bunch of drunken kids. But it is nice when you're in a venue and you have like quality sound, like you've got a good system, you've got someone running audio in the back.
Very cool. Okay. So then where does the folk punk come from, Mo? What do you think? What's that all about?
I would say it's more of like a scene thing, probably. It's an easier way to classify our music before getting into the whole traditional traveler kid thing, because there are a bunch of like folk punk kids around Ontario.
It's a more generally understood term.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had trouble defining it and wondering what it was. For me, I mean, I really enjoy the music and the varied styles. I heard everything from cool rock, folk music to a country rock to blues riffs and everything. And that is the punk folk or the folk punk then?
Folk punk is a term that has been used before. And it's kind of easy because people generally have an idea of what folk is. They generally have an idea of what punk is. So it's kind of, they can make an idea of mixing these things together in their head and get something from that. Whereas if you would just say something like flail, what is this? Flail? And you have to sort of give this whole backstory. Whereas folk punk, in its sort of essence, is like one guy yelling with an out-of-tune acoustic guitar.
But that's not you guys, because you guys are beautiful violin, Mo, right? Bass, Brent, and acoustic guitar, Taylor. And so maybe is that flail then? This is, I mean, for everybody out there watching this now, you heard it here first on xCogTV, right? China Bones, the inventors of flail, shall we say, bringing it to you in the mainstream. This is the defining moment. No, Mo says no.
It's been used before. It's
I think if we were all travelers, like...
Okay, so who's the traveler then?
That would be Brent.
No, that's not true at all. That's not true.
Well, due to the varied style of vêtements, sélection, clothing, Taylor appears to be the office businessman.
I just like sewing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Brent is the traveler, I understand.
Yeah.
That's true.
For sure. Okay, cool. So, well, thanks for that. I think a lot of people have trouble defining or understanding that, as I did when I happened to mention folk punk, and one of our guests in the audience was like, no! So, very cool. Speaking of which, would the guest in the audience like to comment on that if I hand the microphone over?
I have a question.
Oh, here's a question. I'm walking off camera because this is how we roll. Audience participation.
You seem to be trying to define the genre of folk punk itself, but I think something that would be a little bit more interesting and more personal is, what do you define folk punk as, or Flail as? Not what people define it as, but what do you look at folk punk as?
So, as yourselves, thank you for that question. That is an awesome question. More about the individual is what I'm taking about from that. So what do you define folk punk as, or Flail as, yourselves?
I've already talked a bunch about this. I really want to hear what you guys feel like you're bringing to what we do, like the music that we make.
I think like she said, we are defining like what the actual terms mean and not what it is for us. And like I think just what we have is like definitely a folk feeling to it, but also a combination of just a lot of different things. So it's like you've got the violin, which people automatically associate with either classical or like folk music, bluegrass music, stuff like that. And I don't know, it's very hard to define and make a definition of something when it's like, not all of our songs sound the same, like you've heard it. Like we are very eclectic. A lot of things are different. One song will sound really nice and pretty, and another song will sound really rough, and he's like, and it's hard to encompass everything we do into one term.
Yeah, you really have to hear it, I think, is the thing. It really does run the gamut and has such a variety. So no, that's cool. Thanks for sharing that, Brent. How about you then, Mo? As Taylor passed you onto the spot, what's that mean for you?
Folk punk. I would say probably just like more of a community thing, like going to London or something, playing shows in basements and living rooms, like sometimes at venues, sometimes outside, just hanging out, jamming with people. And like everyone's got a different flavor to bring, but they're all connected in some way or another. Like we do all play different things, but we can have like a common ground with like some of these traditional tunes, like everyone knows, like Moonshiner or something like that.
I really like that you brought up the community aspect of it.
Well, the way we see it is like, or I see it as just like, it's very organic. It's less like Taylor was saying about like playing under a bridge, is great. Like sometimes we're sitting around with a bunch of friends and like playing music. And it's more organic than like playing at a venue every time. And like, it's very impersonal with the audience. And so this way is more of an interaction and a community base, like Mo said.
Very cool. Yeah, and I did catch one of your Christmas shows, and I forget the venue, but man,
the 460.
It was packed. It was packed. The people in there, the singing, the chanting, I mean, it was everything going on, like body slam dancing and like the moshing,
body slam,
the lighters in the air, and the music was so varied. It ran through all versions of that, and I was just like, wow. My senses didn't know what to make of it, and that's what was so enjoyable about it, and just people were having a great time. So. Yeah, Mo, community, man. I did get that feeling for sure. And groovy, cool sounds and tunes. So, all right, well, if I said to my mother, folk punk or Flail, she's going to be like, huh? Is that Kenny Rogers? Right? But, you guys have aspects of everything in there. I really think it appeals to a very broad audience of all ages, styles, and musical tastes. So that'll be the best part. We'll be hearing one of the songs coming up in a couple moments. I just wanted to ask you first, though, what image, then, do you think your music conveys? It's sort of the next level of that question, and Brent's looking at me like, oh, that question. The image, what image does it give you? What feeling do you have when you're playing? You know, versus what do you think people are feeling and seeing from your music?
I personally, the stuff we're playing, the words like that he's singing is all about his life and like things that have happened and stuff like that. And we're all very close. So it's when we're playing, the things I'm thinking, I'm just like picturing the things that he's saying and stuff like that, and just remembering him telling me about it when it happened and stuff like that. And it's very immersive for me to hear him say these things about things that he's done, because him and I have been very close for a very, very long time. And so for me, it's more of a personal thing between him and I, as well as performing.
Well, you guys are childhood friends, if I understand correctly.
This is true.
Right. Okay. So the songs are then you're living vicariously through Taylor's adventures and crazy stories. Then?
Not so much vicariously, but just like understanding like what was going on, and just like being involved in the whole him telling these stories is very cool to me. I enjoy that because I like that guy. He's cool.
Okay. Cool. Sorry,
you said that on film.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Oh no! Erase it. Delete it.
Bromance.
Delete it.
Childhood memories. So, Mo, how about you? What's that image for you? What's that feeling for you?
I would say it is like kind of Taylor, like learning more about him and, you know, his travels and all that stuff. It's also, I think it's like for all of us, we get to just put whatever we want into the music. So it's maybe like a personal kind of reflection of ourselves, like musically,
right?
At least, like, because we get together and like Taylor brings a song, but then we put whatever we want on it until it works. It's not like totally directed or anything like that. So
you bring your decades of violinist passion into that and inject it and infuse it.
Yes.
Yeah. And dude, I seriously get that actually. When I saw you guys play and you lit in with the violin, I was like, whoa, and the energy vibe just goes. So yeah, really, really interesting stuff.
Cool.
Very cool. And then Taylor, what image, what feeling, what are you seeing? What's
Feelings, that's an easier question than image.
Well, then let's start with image second. So what's the feeling and then the image you get?
The feelings, like it was mentioned before, the songs are a lot of my experiences in life. I do my best to talk about things that have actually happened or like honest thoughts that I've had. And it's not just sort of like metaphors, and I try to keep the content of the lyrics thoughtful. And hopefully if someone one day reads the lyrics, they'll at least, it'll be thought-provoking.
Sort of like the lyric about living with dogs and was there poo or something? And
no, it smelled like shit.
Smelled like poo.
my friend Sarah her dog had puppies, and she was living in a shed at the time. So there was her dog, and her dog had 10 puppies. So there was the 11 dogs and her in this like leaky shed, and it just smelled like shit.
And you wrote a song about that.
Well, the song itself, it's got a couple levels. The first thing that I wrote about, I don't know if this ever came across to anybody else, but it was like when you meet people and you don't really know them, you haven't had a lot of interactions with them, they're just sort of an idea in your head. You maybe know one or two things about them and they're just sort of a character. And then on another level, I met this girl, Cecilia, who...
And there's a song about her.
Well, this is the same song.
Okay.
And so there's a whole bunch of interesting interactions between her and other people in my life. And so on another level, this song, it's called Dear Cecilia, is like a letter to her talking about this idea of people being ideas. Again, I don't know if that ever came across to anybody at all, but that's what it was written about. That was the lyrical content. So I try, and hopefully it works, to have people have honest thoughts when they listen to the song, if they ever get a chance to understand the lyrics, and hopefully that drums up some feelings as well. Images, I'm not an extraordinarily visual person. I wear a lot of my friends' art on my clothes.
Yeah, very cool. Let's just take a second and get maybe a zoom or pan shot of some of Taylor's cool art and patches and sewing that he's got going on there. I mean, these pants have been everywhere, right? Across Canada to Alaska and back.
This is true. But what I was excited about, I met this girl, Bubsy, while we were traveling, and she plays in a band. Oh, I think I'm covering the microphone. And so we got to play with them. They're called Mowgli and the Dirty Sisters. And I ended up getting a patch for them, and it says nothing's perfect. And when I sewed it on, I accidentally sewed it on crooked, so it's not lined up. But I thought that just kind of went with the whole thing. That's all. I find this really beautiful, and then sort of, in a sense, encouraging words.
Very cool. That was beautiful. No, thanks for sharing, guys. I think it puts people more in touch with understanding your music, right? And the feeling and the imagery that you are experiencing. It'd be interesting to find out from your fans and maybe have them post some of their responses to what they feel and the imagery they get.
So you've listened to our album, yeah?
Yeah.
So
he's going to interview me now. Turn the tables, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin's about to be interviewed. Go, Taylor.
So I don't know if any specific songs, like maybe you remember some of the song titles, because there is a large variety of sentiments involved in the album. If you can remember some of the tracks, maybe.
Codeine.
What they...
I like Codeine.
Perfect. We didn't write that one.
The one I... Well, what I like...
We did rearrange it. Like if you listen to the original, it sounds quite different than what we do.
While You're Ahead is like my favorite.
That's some life advice right there. It's our pop hit single.
Yeah, is it? Like so that song was awesome for the... It gave me such a variety of feelings and emotions because of all of the varying styles of music. How there was a slow segment and it picked up and I felt even spoken word was coming to me at one point, and I don't know if you planned it that way, but I actually got that out of that. There was some really cool things in there, and it's just really fun music. What was your next question?
What image did this
he's switching
stir up?
How does that really make you
feel? How does that really make you feel? It made me feel good, man. It reminded me of my childhood in the 70s. Ooh, there's dating myself. And the imagery of that classic Canadiana, because we won't say Americana, right? That classic Canadiana music, and I was imagining like the Joni Mitchells and Bob Dylans of the world mixed with some cool funky rock and stuff, and I really enjoyed it. So that's what
funky
it did.
Rock. That must be Mo.
That's what. Well, and then the violin in there is just beautiful, right? And classical overtones. So that's what it's doing for me as the listener, and really enjoyed that. So that's why I was confused when I see folk punk. But if that's what that is, which I'm now gonna call it Flail, everybody, for everyone watching. That's now called Flail, just so everybody knows.
It's finally cool.
Right, it's finally cool. The cool kids have made it so. It's now known as Flail. And that's what I'm gonna tell my mother. I said, Mom, I got some really cool Flail music for you to listen to that sounds like Kenny Rogers, sort of.
Keep things
something like
cool.
So let me ask you guys then. What are your songs about other than Taylor's Adventures? Are they all Taylor's Adventures?
You wrote a new song that you bring in.
I did, but none of you have heard it.
We could talk about it now. You could tell us about it, unless you don't want to. I'm not going to force you.
No, it's I don't know. People write from experiences and stuff like that, and so this one is just a collection of a lot of things that have been happening, and I don't know. I'm gonna bring it to the guys very soon.
What's that song called yet? Or
no title. Very new. Very groundwork.
There you go.
It's fresh.
China Bones by Brent. Fresh. No title. Very new. Fresh. Flail music for you and your family.
Come soon.
All right, we're back live in studio. Second go around. String blowout.
Sick.
It is what it is. So the song is Quit While You're Ahead from the album Introspection, China Bones. This will be awesome, guys. Looking forward. Take it away.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'd lay down for eternity. If I found a forest full of you, I'd plant my roots and grow there too. And if I found my mind amongst the two of us, I'd pick it up and clear away the dust. put it right back where it belongs, and I'd make sense of being right, center out, get crazy. And it's my time to cross the line, but I will not go alone. Then I came to town singing I'm alive. I got kicked in the chest and my spirits died. Cleaned myself up and I said my name. They crawled out of my sorry grave. I am not dead. Now I see the world is not my enemy. Get crazy. If I found myself by a mountain stream, I'd rest my bones and begin to dream. If you were that water, strong and true, I'd hop right in and float by two. Water so pure and pristine, when I get out, my soul is clean. It won't matter if it's dark, 'cause standing there we will live part. Get crazy. And it's my time to cross the line, but I will not go alone. Then I came to town singing I'm alive. I got kicked in the chest and my spirits died. Cleaned myself up and I said my name. Crawled out of my sorry grave. I am not dead. Now I see the world is not my enemy. Get crazy.
Three, one.
Home is where the heart is. That's what I'm told, but I know that your heart is only beating for that road. The city lights just don't compare to hitching round the